Scene 75K. I'm Mark Wihak. I'm the writer, director, producer of Resting Potential. It took a long time to get this film made. I first tried to get a version of Resting Potential made in 2002. You know, this is a story a lot of, or probably every filmmaker has, a project they really want to make that they just can't get the money behind. And I was lamenting with a filmmaker friend in Toronto, Alida, and she said, just make the film for whatever you can raise. And that's common sense, but it kind of reset the way I looked at the film. Instead of thinking I needed $300,000 to make the film as a low-budget feature, I would make it for whatever I could raise. And I was able to get some support from Sask Arts and from the Saskatchewan Film Pool, and it turned out to be about 1/10 of the budget that I thought I needed to make the film. It meant I had to make some changes to the film. I went back into the screenplay, pulled out a bunch of scenes, took out a bunch of characters, while still focusing on the central trio of the story. Lucy, the main character, what happens to her, and how her boyfriend Paul and her best friend Sarah respond to what happens to Lucy. One of the things that happened in the intervening time between I first tried to make the film and when we subsequently made it was things like YouTube and Vimeo and streaming, and the idea that you didn't necessarily need to send your films to film festivals to reach an audience, that it was possible to make a film that could bypass the more traditional gatekeepers. When I decided Resting Potential was primarily going to be made for an online audience, I decided instead of expecting people to sit there for 70, 80 minutes watching the film, we would release it in chapters. We would not just release it in chapters, we would write it and shoot it as chapters. And with the idea that if people got intrigued by the first 5-minute chapter, maybe they'd watch the second one and so on. So 5, 7, 8-minute chapters to tell the story in a sequence of these. And that was a result of budget pressures, but it also was a kind of interesting creative challenge, just having to rethink the structure of telling the story in a way I had never worked before.